Today we're going to be talking about our topic being guide to presenting and customizing the snapshot page. So if anybody's not familiar with the snapshot or really does happen to like the functionality with the snapshot and wants a deeper dive, this is going to be the webinar to watch. So thanks for being here. For anybody who's not familiar with the snapshot, this is going to be a tab that's a fully customizable one-page report. It's essentially RightCapital's comprehensive approach to a curated area of key metrics from all over a client's full financial plan. We're going to be going over all things snapshot today. We're going to talk about customizing the snapshot and really curating that to being the most ideal sort of metric and information-filled page for your specific client plan. We'll also talk about some examples for really curating that snapshot and what widgets, I should say, are going to be relevant to specific client groups. We'll also talk about using the snapshot as a hub for navigation throughout RightCapital. We'll talk about setting up snapshot templates so you can apply large scale templates to multiple different clients instead of doing it on an individual client level. And we'll give you a sneak peek of doing both manual snapshot curation and template, as well as how to apply those templates. We'll talk about also how to generate a snapshot report. Oftentimes, we are sending off PDF deliverables to our clients, whether it's after a client meeting or if it's just something we're uploading to the vault or sending it via email. However, you contact your clients, it's super helpful to send them off with that PDF information. And the snapshot is not only a great area for information, but it's also really visually appealing. And we hear a lot of reports of our advisor saying that the clients are really happy with the different customization available within the snapshot and really gives them a highlighted view of all the important things that they should be looking out for within their specific financial plan. So all that being said, let me go ahead and jump into a client sample plan here, and we'll just kind of take a look at the snapshot overall, and we'll talk about all the functionality within the snapshot page, as well as all the available widgets. So this is going to be really exciting, again, for anybody looking for more info on the snapshot. But let me go ahead and open up my sample plan here. We're going to be working within our Brandy Melville plan, Brandy and Stefan. And the snapshot page is actually going to be within out of the box RightCapital plan, the very first tab that we land on when we do open a RightCapital account. I will also touch on the ability to reorder these tabs, but we'll do that a little bit later. So if you don't want the snapshot to be the first page that your client lands on, or when you land on, if you open up a client plan, we can totally change the order of things around. And again, we'll touch on that a little later. But we'll see here we're landed on our snapshot. And again, this is going to be an example of a one-page report, essentially, of all the key items available for our clients to pay attention to in this financial plan. If you are going to generate a PDF report of the snapshot, it can extend, I believe, up to 3 pages within the report, depending on how many widgets you include. Obviously, with a 8 by 11 sheet of paper, we can only fit so many widgets when we go to actually print this out. So it can go up to 3 pages. Depending again on how many widgets you add to your snapshot. But just to kind of preface that in case anybody had a snapshot report that went a little longer, it can be more than 1 page, but oftentimes with the widgets that are included, it's typically a fits on 1 page. All of that being said, we can see here that the snapshot is comprised of a series of different widgets. And these widgets, again, are pulling in key metrics from all over the financial plan. We can really customize this snapshot. So you can drag and drop these different widgets around to curate the different order in which we want these to be visible. There are different sizes, and you'll notice that the snapshot is going to rearrange itself in a way that, makes the boxes easy to fit and visually appealing. You also have the ability to remove specific widgets that maybe aren't relevant to that specific client conversation. And you can add additional items using this Add Items button here. And we'll go over all the functionality within the Add Items button and all the different widgets you can include today. But we'll also go through some of these other features within the snapshot widgets as well. So not only can you delete an item, you also have the ability by clicking on this magnifying glass to select preview item. This is just going to bring the item up to the forefront of the screen. So if you are maybe talking to your client in a live client presentation view, and we don't really want to be distracted by any other widgets on the screen, or we really just want to bring something to the client's attention, we can utilize this preview item button. And this is going to work with both the smaller sized widgets as well as the larger size widgets. And for the ones that do have interactive charts, if you do hover your cursor over those charts, we can see that we can get some other additional information on what exactly all of this means. For example, I'll open up my current allocation and we can see the percentages of the current allocation for this plan and what asset categories are making up the overall allocation. And then we have access to what those specific percentages are by hovering over the chart, as you can see here. The other really helpful feature with the snapshot is going to be this open item button. The open item button is probably my favorite feature within the snapshot. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring us to the direct area in the software from which we're pulling this information. So if your clients maybe do have a specific question on one of the widgets and we want to dive deep into a specific module, we can utilize that open item feature to quickly navigate to that screen instead of having to click through all the different tabs here. A really helpful presentation tip with the snapshot is actually being able to curate your client conversation around the specific widgets within the snapshot. So that way, for example, maybe you want to talk about your probability of success first. That doesn't always have to be the first step of a financial plan, but maybe we can curate our plan to look at the probability of success first, and then maybe we'll talk about our tax allocation summary next. We'll talk about our effective tax rate and then the associated household risk score. So you can go through and utilize this snapshot sort of as your hub for this presentation. And then every time we get to a new topic, you can just utilize this open item feature to segue directly into the area of the software from which we're pulling this information, then allowing us to quickly showcase the proposals that we've made within the retirement analysis tab. And then when we do finish with retirement analysis and we're ready to talk about our tax allocation of the different accounts entered within this plan, we can then quickly navigate over to that screen as well. Again, just showcasing the quick movements between the different accounts and saving you some time, maybe having to remember that the tax allocation tab falls under investment and we started in the dashboard tab, especially if you're still getting familiar with RightCapital, that we can really take advantage of the functionality of that open item button. And again, it's going to work for both small and large widgets, as we can see here, coming up to our tax estimate tab, immediately displaying the information that we're looking for. Let me just go ahead and close some of these additional tabs here. And so that is the major functionality within the snapshot screen, just looking at the 3 items in each of the widgets in the upper corner as you go and hover over the different items within your snapshot page. If I scroll up to the top here, let's take a look at what we have available under this Add Items button. If you do click this button, we can see here there is a series of other areas within the software from which we can bring in information. We're starting off with key metrics. These are going to be all of these smaller widgets here. So anytime you click into a key metric, you're going to see a smaller widget display when you add it to your snapshot here. We can look at the net worth, total net worth from the plan, and this is going to be pulling from the profile net worth tab. So anything you've entered over there is going to directly display on this specific snapshot widget. We also are looking at our federal effective tax rate that's available for us here. And then our retirement income stability ratio. And again, if you're ever curious on where these are coming from, open item's going to bring you directly to where that area in the software is. The other key metrics available to you are going to be your total effective tax rate, your household risk score, your withdrawal rate for the plan, and your savings rate. Now, I should preface as well, we've added all of our key metrics. So now our key metrics option has disappeared from our snapshot capabilities. This is just going to help us ensure that we're not adding multiple of the same widget. So once you add one, it gets taken out of the options here for you to add a second version of it. If you do happen to delete a specific item, we can see it pops back up for us as an availability for us to select later on. So you can really get specific on what items you want to include. And if we don't want to include any key metrics, we can remove them all and they become available on the side for us if we decide to welcome them back into our snapshot a little bit later. On top of key metrics, we also can pull other information from the different modules along the top of the screen here. The dashboard tab is going to include some helpful information that's found under the other sub tabs that make up the dashboard. As we can see here, balance sheet information, liquidity and budget information, as well as tasks. Within the investment tab, we have the ability to pull in that risk summary. So if you are utilizing the risk assessment within RightCapital and having your clients complete a risk assessment and setting the risk score for the household, as well as proposing different portfolios, for example, and maybe analyzing whether or not the clients want to jump to a more conservative portfolio or a more aggressive portfolio, or even if they do happen to align where they are currently, this is going to be a great widget to showcase that value here in a nice visual. On top of that item, and I just got confused because it disappeared on me, but that was the only one available for risk, right? So if I go ahead and delete it, then we will have an investment pop back up and risk summary available to us. We also have insurance information. So if you are doing maybe life insurance analyses for the client and the co-client, this can be great to bring into your snapshot as well. And this is going to break out between the client and the co-client. In this case, in this sample plan, I don't have any life insurance entered, so that's why we're not seeing any visuals here. But if I were to go in and, for example, enter a life insurance policy in my profile tab, really quickly, I'll just throw into the net worth a simple term life policy here. Let's just throw in an example of my policy here. I'll hit save. And then once I do have this entered in the system, and this is going to be for the main client, I can pop back into dashboard and we should see current insurance now display within this widget. So just to give you a visual of kind of what that bar graph is going to look like. Now, if you are within the life insurance module and proposing additional insurance, just for a quick example here, I'll click on insurance. I will just go down to my life insurance analysis, and within the action items, we can just propose some additional life insurance here. So if we did have a protection need calculated for this plan, we could, for example, see if our current insurance covered our protection need, and if it didn't, we could always propose an additional coverage amount within the action item down below here. The graph is going to then adjust and show the additional proposed insurance. And then when we do pop back over to the dashboard snapshot, we can see the recommendations display here. This is going to be another helpful tip as well. So if you are curating these snapshots and you're really curating a specific client view of their RightCapital portal, and maybe we're hiding specific modules from them, you do have the ability to hide specific modules, and I'll touch on how to hide and rearrange the different modules a little bit later on in this webinar. But for example, if you are doing life insurance analyses for these clients, and maybe we don't want them to see the full life insurance tab along the top, we can still give them access to the snapshot and show the widget that's curated from the life insurance analysis. So they still get some information of maybe different proposals you're talking about or ideas of, sort of what's going on within the client plan, but they don't have to go in and maybe get confused about the life insurance module itself or anything like that. So you could really, again, just curate this snapshot to really cater to the specific client view and any needs that they might have when it comes to navigating financial software like this. On top of insurance for both the client and the client, we also can pull in some information from the retirement tab, like our waterfall chart. This is our first year of the cash flows here. We also have our current year savings for the plan. The stress test. This is a really exciting one, just in terms of how colorful it can be. But this is going to help us showcase any strength or maybe low points within the plan, depending on any of the manipulations we've done in the action items within the stress test module. And then we also can look at income sources for the plan as well. This is a really popular chart coming from the retirement details tab under retirement analysis. And if you want a reminder of where that is, we can click open item and it brings us directly to that spot in the software. I did say it was my favorite, so I am going to mention it a couple of times so everybody knows that it's there and available for themselves. On top of all the different widget options within the snapshot, we also have some text boxes. We have a full size, a half size, and a double size text box. A half size text box, I believe I had one up here earlier, is going to be this smaller version of a text box here. And you'll notice our text boxes have character limits. So for the small half size text box, our character limit's going to stop you at 150 characters. I will click on the add item button here and just show you what a full-size text box looks like. And this is about the same size of the larger module widgets within the snapshot. And then a double size is going to be basically double that size. Let's see, the character limits for the full size is 400. And then for the double size, we're at 1,000 characters. So this isn't necessarily an area of the software where we're intending you to write, large essays or anything like that. But some really common use cases for notes in the snapshot could be something like notes for the plan, right? So things to keep track of, maybe specific goals for the clients that we want to align with. We also can utilize it as a welcome, right? This is the first page within the snapshot that the client is going to find when they do click into their RightCapital portal if you give them access to it. So we can do something like a welcome message. This is your plan. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. You can also drop a hyperlink within the notes boxes as well. So if you want to drop a hyperlink in there and link it to maybe your calendar so your client can book a meeting or anything relevant maybe to your website or to a specific calculator that you utilize within your practice. There really is a lot that can be utilized within the notes boxes as well. And then lastly here, besides the notes boxes, you also have the ability to upload images. You can upload a full size and a mini. If you do upload images to your portal here within the snapshot, you'll just click on the widget, it'll populate for you, and then you can just click on the image field and it'll allow you to pick a file from your computer. This is going to be the full size, and then if you do select a mini image, it's going to be the small size of these key metric widgets here for you. Excellent. Let me go ahead and just delete some of these items here so we're not overwhelmed with all of these widgets. And I also just want to touch on the view of specific widgets within the software. So for example, we're looking at this waterfall chart. And for anybody who's not familiar with our waterfall chart, this is going to be the area of the cash flows within RightCapital that's displaying a nice visual here of the client's inflows and outflows for their plan. You might be asking, why are we displaying 2038 specifically in this plan? If it's 2025, that would be the first year of the cash flows if we're utilizing the cash flows starts January 1st of this year setting. Where's this 2038 coming from? And a really great functionality within the snapshot is that anytime you have anything selected within a specific module, that's going to be what directly feeds into the snapshot. For example, I have 2038 selected in this plan from some other thing I was doing, and that was what happens to be the year that was landed on. If I do, however, want to showcase this year being the year of the cash flows that we're looking at, I'm going to make that selection within my kind of slider here to select the specific year. And then I'm going to go back to my snapshot and I'm just going to refresh the page. The system's going to recognize that I landed my cash flow little marker on 2025, and it's going to pull in the year 2025 for us instead. For example, we also have the historical net worth. This is pulling the last 6 months of information, but maybe we want it to pull the last 30 days and not necessarily the full 6 months to showcase a shorter period of time. You'll see here in the drop down within our historical net worth tab that we have 6 months selected, but I can pump it down to the last 30 days. And when I do make that selection, we see the chart adjust. We see there's no changes in the net worth for the next 30 days, but when I do refresh my snapshot screen, we can see here that now this is going to display the last 30 days. So when it comes to not only curating the specific widgets, but also the visuals within the widgets are customizable depending on what you want to showcase to your client. It's really important here. Another one would be our probability of success, for example. Maybe we have multiple different proposed plans. So within my retirement analysis tab, the plan that's going to display in the probability of success is going to be the plan that's selected on the left-hand side. For example, if I just add a new plan within my system here, and I do then go back to my dashboard snapshot, the probability is going to display the plan that I have selected on the left-hand side here. This is again, just another way to pick and choose what's visible within the snapshot. When it comes to generating a snapshot report within RightCapital, for example, say we're going to send this off to our clients, the same methodology applies. So whichever widgets you have selected within the snapshot and whichever plans you have selected to change the visuals within the specific widgets are going to be exactly what's generated into a PDF report. Right, so I changed my sample here to new plan 1 and I adjusted the year of my waterfall to 2025, and my historical net worth is the last 30 days. So when I do go in to generate a report for the snapshot, and the way to do that is by clicking on the gear icon in the upper corner, and then report. We'll see here we have a series of widgets available for us to select within the system here. So if I did just want to generate a report of the snapshot, and maybe that's the only thing I'm generating today, I'll select the snapshot as my option here. I'll scroll down to the bottom and I'll hit download selected pages. It's going to download it as a PDF to my computer. And once that gets downloaded, if my computer wants to work a little bit faster, there we go. I'll just click it open here and we'll see the very straightforward RightCapital cover page here that's generated for you. But then we also have our snapshot report. We can see new plan 1 is displayed for us here. And if I scroll down, we can see, I did mention that the snapshot can take up a couple of pages if you are adding a bunch of different widgets, which is totally up to you. But we can see all the different changes we've made here in terms of the last 30 days and the waterfall chart displaying the specific year selected. So if you are making adjustments to the stress test, for example, or again, the different proposals, these visuals are going to change and they're going to display within those PDF reports for you as well. So super comprehensive and responsive, I should say, when it comes to curating that snapshot view. Let's quickly go through an example of what a snapshot would look like for some client demographics. I'm actually going to go ahead and do this from a manual standpoint, and then I'll also touch on how to do it in terms of a template standpoint. So we have a lot of other things to cover, but let me just go through and quickly delete these here so I can start completely from scratch. And I will preface, if you do go through and delete everything in your snapshot, RightCapital does not store that information for you. So you will not be able to get that back to how it was originally. So just be careful when you are deleting things to really pay attention to what you're adding and what you're not adding. Maybe take a screenshot so you can remember, or save it as a template if you do like utilizing all those widgets in the same area. We also have a clear all button. That would have been a little bit faster for me to delete all the widgets, but I did not remember that that was at the bottom of my screen. So that's an option there for you as well. And we're all learning RightCapital together here. But let's go through an example of we're talking maybe about a pre-retiree sample client today and some really common widgets that would be perfect for that specific client demographic would be, first off, starting with our probability of success. And we did see what that widget looks like, but just to show you, now that we have nothing added in the snapshot, we have all of these different options available to us. You do have probability of success available for you here in retirement, and you also have probability of success available for you as a key metric. Now remember, our key metrics are those little boxes, right? Very small. So if you do want to highlight your probability of success and you select it from key metrics, it's going to be a small box, a very little probability of success. If I want a large box, I'm going to find the probability of success under the retirement section. this is going to be a large probability of success. This is the only widget in which it's two different places. Because it's so critical to a lot of client views and financial plans, we allow for two different sizes here. So depending on how exactly you want your snapshot to look, you can get a little one or a big one. That's going to be the first widget that's recommended for a pre-retiree, right? Looking at how their plan is going to succeed in the long run. Another really common one would be something like our retirement income sources here. This is going to be our income sources for the plan. And again, maybe I want my probability of success to display first. So I'm going to drag that up to the left-hand side, and then income sources can be number 2. And again, this is displaying that new plan 1. But if we do want it to just display a different plan, we'd select that on the left-hand side. Another really common one is going to be something from my key metrics. In this case, I'm going to select my net worth. After my net worth, we're also going to take a look at tracking the net worth over time, and I'm going to find my historical net worth, right? So we're seeing a couple of repetitions here, but just helpful common widgets that are useful for this client demographic. We'll also look at something like our balance sheet summary. So our balance sheet summary is going to include a summary of our balance sheet, assets, liabilities, and net worth. However, if you do want something a little more detailed, we also do have under the dashboard tab our balance sheet details. So some clients might want something more simplified here, and some clients might appreciate something a little more detailed where we're actually listing out the different assets within the balance sheet and those figures there available. So depending on what that view is more preferable to you or your client, you can select which one of these or include both of them. Another really common metric is going to be that stress test metric that I highlighted earlier. And not only is it fun and colorful, but it does really showcase any pain points in a client plan or boosts plan confidence as well. Again, the stress test is for really highlighting areas in the client plan where we might need to strengthen when it comes to unforeseen circumstances like healthcare inflation rising, or the client's longevity being adjusted up or down, or maybe the markets are dropping and we need to see what that impact is going to be on our plan. So we can really showcase the stress test here to indicate, how is our plan going to do in these unforeseen circumstances. And then I do have an empty space here. So one more widget I always like to utilize is actually going to be that savings rate, right? These are pre-retirees, so they're not quite retired yet. We want to make sure we're hitting our savings goals so we can have a nice, healthy retirement later down the line. So really showcasing that savings rate can be helpful here. Now this is just an example of one curated snapshot, and it's not as many widgets as we had previously, so this is probably going to look like a one-page PDF report. But if we were going to generate this again, I'll just select report, snapshot. It's already selected for me, and I'll download this as a selected page. Now, if you do like to download and upload your client's vault, if you do click the drop-down caret here, we do have the ability to download and save this to the vault automatically. So it just cuts a step down. Instead of having to download it and then re-upload it, it just saves you some time. Once this PDF report generates for me, we can see here that we have our nice one-page snapshot view with the widgets curated for a pre-retiree client demographic. Fantastic. All right, I think we kind of understand how the snapshot works at this point in terms of curating those client plans, some really popular widgets that are available, and how to generate it as a report. Let's bounce back out to my advisor portal now, and we'll talk about reordering the different tabs in RightCapital if we don't want the snapshot to display first, as well as showing the client access and giving them different visibilities to different tabs here. And then after that, we'll go into creating snapshot templates. So let me go ahead and back out to my advisor portal here. And you know what? I did see a lot of questions come through as I was within the client plan. So I think what we'll do today is actually, let me open this back up and just touch on some of those questions I saw come through here, if there's anything that really seems super relevant. And then we'll also have some time for questions at the end as well. I do see that question on if there's an option to save the report to the vault without downloading it. So at this time, we're just going to be able to download and save to the vault. So it will download as a PDF to your computer and it will go to the vault. We don't have an option to just upload it to the vault just yet, but we can pass that back to feedback for our product development team. I do see another good question on if RightCapital can automatically generate a snapshot report, maybe on the first of each month, that's then saved into the reports folder. That is a fantastic piece of feedback. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't have the ability to automatically generate snapshot reports, but I will definitely pass that along to the product team as well. I see another question here on what's a preferred method to send the client snapshot report, either email or upload to the vault. So I would say that I see about a 50-50 split just from my personal experience with advisors uploading snapshots to the vault or including them in the PDF reports and then emailing that separately. I would say that it can be helpful, especially if you invite your client to the RightCapital portal. They have access to the vault, so it can be a little bit easier and a little bit more secure doing all the snapshot communication within the vault instead of sending it via email. So from a security standpoint, I can see a benefit there, but I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. I've seen advisors utilize both sending out the snapshot via email and also using the vault. So totally up to you. What works best for your specific planning practice? I do see another question here on the new year is coming up. So if we do choose 2025 and in a few weeks it's 2026, will it show 2026? It will. So when the product team comes up at the end of the year here, at the end of the month, and adjusts the return assumptions for RightCapital and adjusts the start year, 2026 will be the year that displays. So whichever the first year of your cash flow simulation starts, if it's starting in January 1st of this year, at the turn of the new year, that 2025 will become 2026. Excellent. I saw another question about the text box here. So let me go ahead and just add a text box. Have to double check on, here we go. So if we are looking at the different text options within the text box, we have a couple of different options here for bolding your text, italicizing it. We can even do a strike through. In order to utilize these options here, you'll have to type in the item that you want to utilize. And then from here, you can indicate if we're going to utilize numbers, bullet points. We're going to have different headers. So H1, H2, and H3 are different headers. H1, H2, and H3 are all different sizes. So you can highlight the item that you've typed that you want to make a larger font. Let me go ahead and set that up here. And then underneath it, we can do bullet points. So again, just saw that question really highlighting, how do we utilize this different functionality here? You can even highlight within your text box and you can, oops, let me open this back up again. And if I hover over this one, we can even change the text color. And then that very last one here, if we do want to throw a hyperlink into the text box here, we can paste a hyperlink. So a good question on that. Thanks for letting me go over that quickly, where you can really adjust the different text features within your snapshot page. Excellent. Alrighty. I think we covered questions when it comes to being within a specific plan here. So let's pop out to the advisor portal. We'll talk about all that other stuff, and then we'll have some more time for questions at the end. So let me go back out to my advisor portal here. And the first thing we're going to talk about is if we are going to be reordering this tab for the client. So within the clients tab here, if we just click on the client but don't open up their plan yet, we're going to find the planning access tab. Now the planning access tab is how you can curate what the client can see when they log into the RightCapital portal. You can also utilize the planning access tab to rearrange the different orders of the tabs within RightCapital while you're navigating within a specific client plan. So very straightforward here. If you do happen to want to change the order of the snapshot, There is a slight limitation in that we can't put the snapshot in a different tab. So for example, if we wanted the snapshot in retirement, we couldn't do that. You can reorder the snapshot within the tab that it lives in, and then you can also reorder the major tabs. So if we don't want dashboard to be the first tab, maybe we want it to be down by profile, I'll go ahead and just drag my dashboard tab down. And then maybe snapshot, we want to sit at the very end of dashboard. So we can move that around. Once we do make that adjustment by dragging and dropping, again, based on that little six dots that populate here. So you can see if I hover my cursor over and off the dashboard side here, we can see those six dots populate for us to drag and drop. Once you do drag and drop your items where you want them, you'll just click save. And then if I do open the plan back up now, we'll see those tabs are going to be reordered. It was the investments now the first one we land on. We moved dashboard all the way over, and snapshot is now the last tab. I'm not recommending this as an option for anybody, but if you do want to move your snapshot, this is just an example of how that's going to be done. So again, not totally something you have to do. If you don't want to put it there, that's fine, but just wanted to showcase the ability to rearrange those tabs if we don't want the snapshot to be the first thing that the clients land on. Excellent. So we've talked about planning access, adjusting the order of the tabs, as well as all things within a client plan. Let's also just touch on snapshot templates now. Snapshot templates are going to allow you to apply a curated snapshot template with all the widgets you're looking for to multiple client plans at once. So what I just showed you was building it manually, and you don't have to do that for every single client plan within your book of clients. That's going to be really time consuming, and maybe you have an order of snapshot widgets that you really like that you want to just apply to multiple people at once, multiple clients at once, or even specific client groups. Let's go ahead and pop over to the templates tab along the top here. And you'll notice we have a series of templates available within RightCapital, but for today's purposes, we're going to talk about the snapshot templates. Here in the area of this snapshot tab, it's going to look very similar to what we were seeing within our client plan, except no information is feeding through because we're not actually tying this snapshot to a specific client plan just yet. We can see here, I can click my new template button. This is going to allow me to start a brand new template. If I want to rename my template, I'll just click on the three dots icon next to where the title is, and I'll select rename. And then maybe this is going to be an all clients snapshot presentation here. I'll just go ahead and select the checkbox next to the title to save that title. And then from here, I can begin curating my snapshot. So I'll go ahead and clear all of these items so we can start from scratch. And let's go through an example of what a snapshot could look like for a younger group of clients, maybe our millennial group. The first one being, if I click add item, I'm going to go over to my retirement. And in this case, we're going to use my my key metrics, not my pre-metrics, my key metrics options here. And I'm going to find probability of success, right? So for a younger client, maybe we're not focusing too much on the end of the plan. We're focusing on other things first, but we still want to see what that plan longevity is. So just a little spot to highlight our mini probability of success widget here. And then we're also going to look at things like their balance sheet, right? So what do they have within their plan right now? Is there anything we need to keep an eye of? Simpler the better, right? Our millennial clients are not looking to look at anything too complex. And then if we scroll down a little bit now, we probably are also going to see different things regarding their liquidity analysis, right? So maybe seeing if they have a liquidity within their plan, if we need to work on building a little bit of an emergency fund for these clients, right? Millennials notoriously are holding less wealth than previous generations of the same age. They're also maybe struggling with more student loan debt or different items like that. So we can really focus on building out that cash cushion and just highlighting liquidity as an important feature. We can also look at different things like their savings rate, right? This was something we also included in that pre-retiree widget snapshot curation, but helpful to, cross-demographic throw these widgets within the snapshot here. The other item that might be really relevant could be something like budget expenses. So really keeping track of expenses on a monthly basis for the specific client. And we also would include something, maybe like a budgeting summary. So, how much of the budget have you spent this month? Are we on track for staying under budget and really keeping those finances in a lock? Another really helpful thing for our younger aged client groups could be something like tasks. If you are assigning tasks for the clients to complete, you can bring in a tasks widget, and that's going to pull in the tasks that you have entered within that specific client plan. And it's going to allow us to showcase this to the client. So when they first log into the RightCapital portal, if that's the first tab that we have in the order, they can see, hey, this is the item that you have to complete now that you've logged into your client plan. And we can even drag this up to the top, and my screen is a little small, so I have to drag it up a couple different times. Oops. But if you have a bigger screen, you most likely won't have to drag it as many times as I do. It just depends on the size of your personal screen here. But now we have this a little bit closer to the front, so we can really see what does this client have to complete, and they can get a nice reminder of that when they first log into their portal. Regardless, this is just an example of popular widgets for that younger client demographic or millennial age group. Again, it's a little bit shorter than what we were first looking at, but you can always customize this further. When we do create this template, and let me rename this because I think I talked about all clients and then I changed it to millennial. So let's see if I can spell the word millennial. And then we'll go ahead and apply this template. Now, within a client plan, you can apply a template. You can also apply a template here. If you're going to apply the template to multiple clients at once, the easiest way is to apply it out from the advisor portal. So I'll click apply template, and then we can apply this template either to all clients. We can apply it to existing client groups. So if you have different client groups, you can apply it to every client that belongs in that group, or you can apply it to different clients at a time. For example, maybe I just know I have a couple of younger age clients that I just want to apply this to on a grand scale, but not to everybody, right? For example, I have a client in here named Mackenzie who is younger, and then we can also take a look at applying this to Dan is younger, and let's see, who are my other younger? These are sample clients. I'm picking clients here. These aren't actually people. We'll throw Joe in here and Sam. And then once these are all complete, we'll go ahead and hit save. You're going to get a warning here that applying a template is going to replace any existing snapshot items for that client, including any text you've entered. So if you do have snapshots that you might have curated with specific text boxes and things, and you're going to apply a template over it, just be mindful that you're going to lose that text data. So maybe go in there and save that to a different spot if that is something that you want to save. Once we do apply that, it's going to apply it to that client automatically. So let's go ahead and just open up Mackenzie's plan here, and I'll show you exactly within her snapshot. Let's see, maybe I need to refresh my screen before I go and apply this. My templates tab, snapshot. Here we go. See, this is a real life learning example for everybody out there. When you are making your snapshot templates, hit the save button at the bottom. Hit the save button at the bottom, and that's going to save everything. So I made the mistake that you guys don't have to make now. You've gone through and created your snapshot template. You've applied it to your clients, and you didn't hit the save button, and now you've lost the widgets that you've created. Don't do what I just did. This is a real life learning example here. I hit the save button at the bottom. I'm going to go in here and just change one of these quickly so we can see. Let's see, where is my budget expenses? And I'm going to bring this up to the top. We're going to do this again. I'm going to bring this up to the top here. Here we go. I'm going to hit the save button. I'm going to apply this template to Mackenzie. This was saved. Now I'm going to go back to Mackenzie. And when we open this up, we have the widget we just created. So go ahead and hit the save button when you're doing anything in RightCapital. I'm glad we had that happen as a live example of what not to do. That's great. Excellent. So you go through, you create your template, you apply them to client plans. There's another area in the software, and this is going to be one of the last things we covered today, where you can create new clients moving forward, right? You have your clients coming through and you are by default adding a new client. We want, when we click add a new client, to utilize a specific template that we have created. Instead of having to go through and manually apply this to all of our client plans, we are going to uh, have this be the default template that is utilized for any client that we put into a specific group, right? So you're going to go to the three dots icon along the top here. This is our more menu. Then we're going to click on client settings. And then we're going to find our way to client groups. Here we have the ability to create different client groups. I have the default three existing prospect and sample clients. You can go through and create additional client groups. So if you wanted to create maybe a retiree client group, or if you have clients that you're, hosting in different states and you want to keep them in different groups, you could have maybe your Tennessee clients and then your Connecticut clients, etc. You can create those client groups, and then within each of the client groups, you have these default templates. If you click the edit button here, this is going to allow you to set templates for the client group by default. So whenever you create a client and add them to that group, that's the template that's going to be applied to their plan. So for example, within the new client's default template, we can find our snapshot template and you can see all the ones that you've created available for you to select. So if you do, for example, want to set a template here as your default snapshot template, anytime you create a new client now, that's going to be the snapshot template that they're going to see within their plan. So this is just going to save you time instead of having to manually assign these templates to every client and every new client you create. The new clients moving forward can have this brand new template applied to them automatically. And you can do that for all your different client groups. And then for anybody who's not familiar how to add their clients to specific client groups, from the clients tab, we're just going to find this clients group setting here, and we can adjust which client group they belong to. Once we do that, we also have the ability to filter our clients by specific groups within the client group drop down here. So if I only want to look at my sample clients, we can see here all of my clients fall into that demographic. Same thing for prospecting if you have any, and existing clients as well. Excellent. Alrighty. So just going over my notes here to make sure I'm not missing anything relevant to the snapshot, but it looks like we've covered all of the important bases today. We've curated snapshots. We've looked through the different widgets available to us and what we can showcase to our clients. We've talked about creating snapshot templates, reordering the snapshot tab so we can see where it displays within the system, as well as setting up these default client templates. We've also talked about the best tips for presenting the snapshot. One of them being that open item feature, that segue button, really bringing us to the area in the software that is pulling that information from.